What do you say that progressives that are frustrated that they don't know where you are?
I'm in the Senate.
There are progressives within the Senate that are frustrated that they don't know where you are either.
I'm like literally right here at the elevator.
I'm in the Senate. That is so much worse than not saying anything. There's a senator mocking the very concept of public accountability. There's a senator who appears to think that what she is doing is funny. There is a senator who appears to be laughing at her constituents and people all over this country who support that legislation and have their hopes pinned on getting some help in their own lives through some of the provisions of that legislation, like help with child care. Senator Sinema is laughing about that. She's having secret meetings about the legislation, as all senators do, but then she's refusing to tell the people she represents what she is trying to accomplish in those discussions. She is refusing to tell the people she represents what she wants for them in that legislation and what she does not want them to get in that legislation. She is refusing to tell her constituents what she is trying to block them from getting. Is she trying to stop parents from getting help with child care? We don't know. And tonight, she thinks that's funny. Senator Sinema clearly does not understand the full range of responsibilities of a United States senator. And unfortunately for the people of Arizona and for the people of the United States, there is no one working on Senator Sinema's staff who can tell her what is so grotesquely wrong about what she said tonight. Reporter, there are progressives in the Senate that are also frustrated that they don't know where you are either. Senator Sinema, I'm clearly right in front of the elevator. I have never seen a Democratic senator behave anything like that. Not once. Not ever. There is no playbook about how to negotiate with a senator who talks like that.
In a Senate with no shortage whatsoever of terrible, shameless personalities, Kyrsten Sinema has somehow managed to stand out. The issue here is that progressives were told that the bipartisan infrastructure bill passed by the Senate would move in tandem with the reconciliation package that comprised the rest of the Build Back Better agenda. All of the climate provisions, child care, social spending, and so on. Since the outset, the whole country, anyone with 2 eyes and 2 ears, has known that both bills were moving forward at the same time, and that each was contingent upon the other passing. But now, suddenly, centrists like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are balking at the idea of supporting the reconciliation package. I would guess that the package is too expensive for them, but I wouldn't know because those people haven't actually deigned to explain why they don't support it. And that is where Kyrsten Sinema comes in. Naturally, progressives who want to help enact Joe Biden's overwhelmingly popular agenda want to know what it is that Kyrsten Sinema wants. And yet Kyrsten Sinema refuses to actually come out and say it. And when she was asked where she is, meaning where she is on this issue, she decided to play coy and pretend that she was being asked where she was physically, to which she replied first that she's in the Senate and then in front of the elevator. Again, it's hard to stand out as being shitty amid this particular group of United States senators because, trust me, there are some all-stars. Sinema managed to eclipse all of them. Because while Kyrsten Sinema might be content to mock her own party's efforts to pass her own party's agenda in hopes that they'll be able to hold on to a razor-thin majority in midterms, just remember what's actually at stake here. Just remember that underneath the politics and the partisan bickering and the daily jockeying and the New York Times headlines and all of the Beltway bullshit, there are people who need help. There are Americans who are in desperate need of childcare and elder care, who are in desperate need of lower drug prices, who are in desperate need of lower housing costs and workforce training and action on climate change. This plan has solutions for people who need them, people who are hurting, people who showed up to elect Democrats because they believed they'd fix it. Kyrsten Sinema looked at those people in the face and said the single most condescending thing she could think of. And by the way, I know it looks like I'm only picking on Kyrsten Sinema when Joe Manchin is also an offender, but let's use some common sense here. Joe Manchin, whether you agree with his positions or not, is still something of an electoral miracle. He is a Democratic senator from a state that Trump won by almost 40 points. 40 points. So while his positions might be infuriating, they're not unexplainable. But Sinema isn't from the deep red state of West Virginia, she is from the purple to blue state of Arizona. She's from a state that Joe Biden won, a state that Democratic Senator Mark Kelly won, a state that Democratic Secretary of State Katie Hobbs won, and yet she's decided unilaterally that she'd anoint herself the single most conservative member of the Senate and would not only block the entire party's agenda, but laugh at the prospect of thinking that anyone is owed an explanation as to why. So when I suggest that Manchin and Sinema aren't the same, it's because they're not. I might not agree with Joe Manchin's politics, but they make some degree of sense. I can't say the same for Sinema. And what makes this even worse is that Kyrsten Sinema was elected thanks to historic Democratic activism and enthusiasm in a midterm cycle. And now, she's repaying those people who put her in that position by sinking the entire Democratic agenda and the party's best chances of re-election in the next midterm cycle. She's almost unilaterally ensuring that no one else, from the House to the Senate, will derive the same benefit that got her that seat in the first place. So this might all be harsh because they're still negotiating and things change by the minute. And look, she may very well have jumped on board with the rest of the party by the time you watch this video, and I will gladly eat my words. But at this point, judging by what we've seen so far, her mocking her own colleagues for the crime of trying to negotiate with her to pass this desperately needed bill, her cavalier disregard for the people who worked hard to elect her to the seat that she's now using to serve herself and her special interests, her logic-defying refusal to help her own party get the win it needs to be able to succeed in midterms, she's already shown who she is. So look, we know who the Republicans are, and so it's not a surprise when they'd rather hurt Joe Biden than help Americans. It is shameful and un-American, but at this point, it's not at all unexpected. But for a Democrat to do it is not only unacceptable, but disqualifying. We need to expand our Senate majority to render her theatrics completely void, which we still have a chance to do in 2022, especially in states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. And then Kyrsten Sinema can be as conservative as her heart desires. But in 2024, she should be treated the exact same way in her re-election as she's treating the rest of her party now, which is to say that it should be as difficult as is humanly possible for her to ever get elected to public office again. To see more videos like this, click the subscribe button right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work, subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. I cover the most important stories each week, and my guest is always one of the top political figures, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, Katie Porter, Cory Booker, and so many more. The podcast link is also right here on this screen, so give it a listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.